Get a first look at what these apartments look like.
And an Annenberg Media special report to hear how many sexual assault cases were reported this year and what DPS is doing about it.
Annenberg TV News is next.
Live from USC, you're watching Annenberg TV News.
We are here and we are not leaving. That's what students chanted in Spanish today outside LA City Hall. Good evening, I'm Etienne Smith.
And I'm Kaylee Heck. Some students walked for more than a mile just to get their point across. LAUSD students are calling for unity and walked out in solidarity today as the country remains divided. Annenberg Media's Kat Clark walked and talked with students as they marched from their school all the way to City Hall.
About 1,000 high school students across LA walked out of class today. Calling for unity, many are fearful about the country's future.
I'm a woman of color. My father is an immigrant. I'm part of the LGBT community, and honestly, I'm scared of Trump and his policies, and I know a lot of people that are also scared, and I guess that's kind of what this is for too, to know that you're supported.
Students from 8 high schools around East LA met in Mariachi Plaza and marched to City Hall. They say this isn't like other protests we've seen since the election.
We're not here to protest, we're not here to put anyone down. We just want our voice to be heard, which is that we want equality.
Organizers of the event are going around and talking to different student groups and telling them, don't talk to the media, stay out of the streets, and be kind to police officers. The whole walk's purpose, the organizers say, is to show that they're united in this community.
Passers-by honked and waved in solidarity as students marched to City Hall. They filled City Hall's front steps, then crossed to Grand Park, where chanting turned to dancing.
All we're saying is that many people in our community are living in fear right now, and we don't want them to be living in fear. We want to tell them, these young people, we are with you and we will always be with you.
LAUSD officials understand students' concerns and desire to be heard, but called for students to remain on campus during school hours. Still, LAUSD sent buses to pick up students and take them back to school to finish their day. For Annenberg Media, I'm Kat Clark.
The union representing LAPD officers expressed their concerns today over what they say is a lack of planning and understaffing by the LAPD during the post-election protests.
These protests were broadcast all over social media, yet on the day after the election, our department leadership was either caught flat-footed by a lack of anticipation or planning, or worse, they deliberately abdicated their responsibility to ensure the safety of all residents of Los Angeles, not just the protesters intent on breaking the law.
The bottom line is, we're worried about the safety of the police officers, we're worried about the safety of the citizens.
An LAPD Public Information Director said LAPD remains committed to adapting to any changes should the protests continue. He also encourages protesters to exercise their right of expression in a safe manner.
There's a movement right here at USC to make campus a sanctuary for undocumented immigrants after Donald Trump said he would deport millions. For some USC students, this hits particularly close to home.
USC uses its diversity to promote itself in so many ways. That's something they need to reevaluate, whether they really want diversity on this campus or whether that's just a buzzword they use to promote themselves.
The petition has been signed by more than 2,500 students, alumni, faculty, and staff since yesterday. It calls for action by the president and the university administration to guarantee privacy of students and staff and to refuse cooperation with immigration authorities.
So, you need to be realistic. You need to have a plan. There are constitutional protections that have been in existence for decades that says when the federal government wants to deport a non-citizen from the United States, that person does have some rights. They don't have a lot of rights, but they do have rights.
USC has not responded to our request for comment on the sanctuary petition. Meanwhile, LAPD Chief Charlie Beck announced this afternoon that he will not cooperate with the deportation of immigrants under Donald Trump. President-elect Trump has started appointing people to his presidential cabinet.
Let's toss it to our political anchor, Aiden McMillan, for more on who Trump has elected so far.
Thanks, Etienne. We've just learned from an AP source that says Rudy Giuliani is the favorite for Donald Trump's Secretary of State. The transition team announced yesterday that Reince Priebus and Stephen Bannon will join the new administration. Trump has appointed Priebus as chief of staff. Priebus is the longtime chair of the Republican National Committee. He is a well-liked figure within the party. He fought to unite the Republican Party against Trump during his campaign, especially when prominent members of the party hesitated or refused to support Trump. As a Washington insider, Priebus' appointment strays from Trump's anti-establishment rhetoric during his campaign. Trump also appointed Stephen Bannon as chief strategist and senior counselor. Bannon is the executive chairman of Breitbart News Network, a far-right alternative news organization. Trump's choice of Bannon is more in line with Trump's anti-Washington position. The appointment is controversial. Conservative figures like Glenn Beck have denounced Bannon as racist. But former KKK member David Duke gave his support for Trump's pick. He told CNN he thinks it will help Trump stick to, quote, the issues and ideas that he proposed as a candidate. Other names that are being considered to join the administration are Newt Gingrich, Ben Carson, and Sarah Palin. Trump's chief spokesperson, Kellyanne Conway, told reporters more appointments will be made later this week. Trump did his first sit-down television interview as president-elect on 60 Minutes last night. Over the weekend, the Southern Poverty Law Center said it had collected reports of more than 200 alleged incidents of harassment and intimidation. When asked about violence being committed in his name since the election, Trump faced the camera and asked for these acts to end.
I'm very surprised to hear that. I hate to hear that. I am so saddened to hear that, and I say stop it. If it helps, I will say this, and I'll say it right to the camera, stop it.
This message is in stark contrast to his campaign when he encouraged violence against protesters at his rallies. Some believe it could signal the transition from Trump as a candidate to Trump as a president.
I think the first part of the significance of the message is him admitting that it's happening and even engaging with the possibility that his election is encouraging people to act in a way that is related to the election. I think what we're all watching is the challenge of candidate becoming a president.
In the interview, Trump also said that he would appoint pro-life justices to the Supreme Court. Trump said that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, abortion issues could be left for each state to decide. Thanks, Etienne and Kaylee. Back to you.
Thanks, Aiden. President Obama spoke this afternoon about President-elect Trump, saying Trump will face a continuous learning curve throughout his term as president.
There are going to be certain elements of his temperament that will not serve him well unless he recognizes them and corrects them. It is a constant flow of information and challenges and issues. That is truer now than it has ever been, partly because of the nature of information and the interconnection between regions of the world.
President Obama did say he believes President-elect Trump knows the difference between campaigning and actually governing. Obama did not comment on Trump's appointment of Stephen Bannon as senior White House policy advisor.
It's finally move-in day for students who signed a lease with the Element apartment complex near campus. Annenberg Media's Lauren Day talked to students who spent the day packing and moving.
Packing up, loading up the car, and moving for the second time in the semester is a reality for Austin Foley and other students who signed a lease for the Element.
I know it's November, but you're finally moved in. How does it feel?
Feels great. Feels awesome.
I'm thrilled to finally be in my permanent apartment.
But not everyone is thrilled. Element was supposed to be ready at the start of the school year, but only now, in mid-November, are students able to move in.
It's been very stressful, and Stuho has done very little to alleviate that.
I have like a project due like tomorrow.
Students say Stuho kept pushing back the move-in date from August to late September to October to finally today. Element did give them the option to terminate their leases.
So I terminated my lease with Element because management was unprofessional and it was just too complicated to deal with.
Even though students say they are relieved to finally move into their new apartments, a lot of them are still extremely frustrated because, as you can see behind me, this front portion is still not finished.
We're living, right next to a big hollow facade that is an active construction zone, so there's going to be a lot of noise.
We reached out to the building's management, but a representative said they were too busy moving students in and didn't have time for an interview today. Renters say they are just glad the apartments live up to their expectations.
I think it's nice. I mean, all the amenities are pretty much what we expected, at least inside the apartments.
As for the outside, well, they just hope the promised gym and retail space will be finished as soon as possible. For Annenberg Media, I'm Lauren Day.
International Education Week kicked off today.
Food, culture, and friends took over VKC to celebrate the global diversity in higher education.
Plus, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we'll show you 10,000 reasons why.
And I'm Cole Sullivan. Coming up, I'll have an Annenberg Media special report on sexual assault here at USC.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed all that.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Now for an Annenberg Media special investigation into sexual assaults at USC.
Annenberg Media's Cole Sullivan joins us now with the story.
Already, in 2016, there have been 34 reported rapes at USC and around campus. But some students never report sexual assaults and feel like the university could do more to support them as survivors. Their stories are horrifying.
Me trying to push him off of me and yelling at him to stop and screaming.
And all too common.
We were in his room and he just forced himself onto me. And then it took a while before I could leave.
At colleges across the country and here at USC.
This guy raped me during the middle of the party in his bedroom.
And those three women are not alone. According to logs kept by the Department of Public Safety and the LAPD, 34 rapes and sexual assaults have been reported to DPS or in the campus area so far this calendar year. That's the most rapes reported in any of the past 5 years. Marty Walters is in charge of the school's annual security report. She says some of the rapes students disclose to university-recommended resource centers do not make it into that report, nor appear in the DPS logs.
There's a very good reason for that.
She says issues around confidentiality mean those numbers are not shared with DPS. So if they report to DPS, it'll be in the logs.
Yes.
But if it's reported to the LAPD, to the Santa Monica Rape Treatment Center, to the Title IX office, or to RSVPS, you may not hear about it at all.
That is correct.
That likely means that there were many more that weren't reported in that report.
I wouldn't say that it likely means, but I'd say it's possible, because we are dealing with a factor of reluctance to report to the police.
One reason people are reluctant to report, a feeling that it's partly their fault.
I spent at least a few weeks
just rationalizing it.
Paige Sawson says a man raped her when she was home on the East Coast for winter break her freshman year. She says the realization of how horribly common sexual assault is among college-aged women led her to speak out.
Of my handful of really good girlfriends, I have one friend who has not been assaulted or drugged.
And she thinks USC needs to improve how it addresses sexual assault and provide survivors more resources on campus.
We have a sprinkles ATM, but we can't pay a part-time nurse to come 2 days a week and administer rape kits.
We contacted Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Ainsley Carey, and asked for comment for this story. But he canceled our scheduled interview after we refused to provide written questions in advance. In an email, Carey said, quote, "Eradicating sexual misconduct is among our top priorities. Over the past 3 years, we have launched more than a dozen initiatives to get to this goal." But despite these initiatives, lack of trust remains an issue. According to a survey by the American Association of Universities, over 55% of women at USC do not trust campus officials to take their report of a sexual assault seriously, nor investigate it fairly. But Walters says they can't investigate at all if the crime isn't reported.
We can't devote the resources necessary, the policing resources necessary, unless we know where these crimes happen, how they happen, when they happen.
And she says for a criminal investigation to take place, the sexual assault must be reported to DPS or the LAPD, not just one of the resource centers on campus. But the women we talked to, all of whom requested some form of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the topic, said they hadn't reported their rapes at all.
I just don't know anyone that's reported it.
And how many people would you say you've talked to?
I mean, at least 10 at the very least.
And those are just the people you've talked to?
Yeah, those are just the people that I've talked to.
And that means the stories just keep coming.
You know, I've already heard about freshmen having issues this semester with it, and like I've seen posts in our internal Facebook group that are saying, you know, we had a new girl who was sexually assaulted. Has anyone had this experience that could come talk to her?
Or the worst thing about it is that it's something that still affects me today, and it's something I guarantee that that person doesn't remember and it doesn't affect him at all.
Because of reporting technicalities and the vast majority of women who do not report at all, it may be impossible to know exactly how many USC students have raped other students. But according to the Campus Climate Survey last year, 14.5% of women at USC say they have been raped. We've mapped out 5 years of sexual assault data from DPS and have posted it, along with this full story, on our website, uscannenbergmedia.com. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Cole, for that in-depth report.
Absolutely, thank you. And now we'll toss it over to our weather anchor, Lauren Dunn, to see if this heat is here to stay.
Thank you, Kaylee and Etienne. Your temperatures this week are going to be a little cooler than we've seen over the past few weeks. Is your fall weather finally here? Let's find out. Taking a look at our current conditions, we can see that it's 70 degrees out, very fair, and winds are really low at 3 miles per hour. We can check out your SoCal temperatures for tomorrow. Starting with the Inland Empire, you can see temperatures in the 80s. Bringing it back to the coast, you can see that it's going to be 72 in Malibu, 82 in Thousand Oaks, and 82 in Simi Valley. Bringing it back to the USC area, it's going to be 81 at campus tomorrow. And if you are in LA County along the coast, there is a beach advisory out, so watch out for those high rip currents and elevated surf. Looking at your 5-day forecast, you can see temperatures are going to be in the low 80s to 70s, which is a very big change for us. And it's going to be sunny all week long. And today, I was lucky enough to talk with a Trojan who has an incredible eye for photography.
If I just did the whole interview like this.
Timmy Labaris is not your typical business student. This senior has an immense passion for photography.
Sitting at a desk job, I can do it, but I start to go a little stir crazy after a while.
He's been shooting portraits, catalogs, on-set stills, and now electronic festivals professionally for 3 years.
There's like this really cool moment when you're shooting where the people, they just kind of forget that you're actually there taking pictures, and that's where all the magic happens.
His photography has taken him all around the country and the globe.
I've been lucky enough to be on stage with some of my favorite artists. It's taken me to Cambodia, Southeast Asia for a couple months.
No matter where he goes, he always has his camera.
If you ask a lot of my friends, they'll say that it's an extension of my arm.
Coming up, Timmy's looking forward to shooting bands at a couple big festivals and even right here at the Shrine. And I don't know about you, but I love taking photos. I just wish mine were as good as Timmy's.
Yeah, those were gorgeous.
I'm jealous of that high quality.
Well, thanks so much, Lauren. USC kicked off International Education Week at the Von Kleidsman Center courtyard today. The event is part of a joint initiative with the U.S. Department of State and Education to promote global diversity in education. The opening festivities included free food, boba drinks, and henna tattoos. There will be a Latin pop showcase tomorrow and international cooking class on Thursday. So, did you see the game over the weekend?
I absolutely did. I was so amazed by our team. Let's toss it to our sports anchor, Alexa Palermo, to hear all about USC sports.
Thank you so much, you guys. Is college football not the greatest thing in the free world? That's what Clay Helton said this weekend. Men's water polo had quite the game against UCLA. And of course, my pick from this week is from football. But who's the shining star? Sports are next.
Why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Having trouble finding Connor's middle school? Would you like directions?
No, why is Connor having trouble focusing in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with him over homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No, I need help. He's very smart, but his mind wanders. He's disorganized.
I think I understand.
Oh, good.
French fries. Finding best potatoes.
No!
Russet. Fingerling. Yukon Gold.
Why don't you understand me?
Sorry, I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
For the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues, this is what life can feel like. Explore understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues, designed to help your child thrive in school and in life. Understood.org, because understanding is everything.
Looks like it's done.
Don't let salmonella get funky with your chicken. On average, 1 in 6 Americans will get a foodborne illness this year. You can't see these microbes, but they might be there. So learn the right temperature to cook each type of meat. Keep your family safe at foodsafety.gov.
Welcome back to ATVN. The Trojans are now ranked 15th after defeating the previously undefeated Washington Huskies. This is the first time the Trojans have been ranked since the preseason poll. USC stormed into Seattle with a suffocating defense. The Huskies were held to 17 rushing yards after coming into the week averaging 231 yards a game. Redshirt freshman Sam Darnold threw for 287 yards with 2 touchdowns. With such precision and poise, he could have been a surgeon. Helton praises Darnold and the rest of the team on the improvement that continues to be made.
I told our team how proud I am of them, of where they've just never quit trying to get better each and every game, and they've believed in each other. They believed in the process that we're having as a coaching staff, and we've continued to grow.
The Trojans snapped the Huskies' 12-game winning streak and weakened their college football playoff hopes. USC is hoping to keep their 6-game win streak alive when they take on crosstown rival UCLA this weekend. But USC still does not control its own fate in the conference. The Trojans' Pac-12 championship hopes fall into other teams, mainly Colorado and Utah. The most likely way for the Trojans to play up in Santa Clara is for Colorado to lose to Washington State and then beat Utah. But if both teams lose this weekend, then USC will gain control of its fate. Of course, all of this is dependent on the Trojans' victory this weekend in Westwood. The top 2 teams faced off in the pool over the weekend, and USC came out on top.
This was a huge win. We were ranked 2nd going into this game. UCLA was 1st, and we gave UCLA their first loss of the season, so that was good. And going into the MPSF tournament, we should be ranked number 1.
The Trojans will take on Stanford for the first round of the MPSF tournament this weekend in Westwood, with an NCAA berth on the line. The number 7 ranked women of Troy are on to the next round. USC is moving through the bracket after a 3-1 win over Eastern Washington. Head coach Kadani McAlpine will continue to look forward to prepare for their next opponent.
There's no easy game at this point. It's just a matter of preparation, and we'll take the week to get ready for whichever one it is.
The Trojans will have home field advantage again when they take on Texas A&M for the second round of the tournament. Adoree Jackson plays football with talent and poise, and I truly believe he is a class act. Jackson did not have a perfect game over the weekend, but he had some really great moments. His first of which was his interception. Jake Browning takes the snap, scrambles out of the pocket, and throws a long one downfield to his receiver. Jackson is there just in time to pick the ball up out of thin air for that interception. I picked Adoree because he didn't let one major mistake define his game. He was in a one-on-one battle against John Ross and slipped and fell right when the play started. This mistake gave Ross enough room to score his first touchdown. It was a costly mistake, but the way Jackson handled himself after, by stepping up and making 2 interceptions, shows his true talent and perseverance.
We know that the season didn't start how we wanted. We always have that mentality. Have faith in each other and what's going on in the process. It's not always how you start, but it's how you finish.
Adoree is a class act on and off the field, and that is why he's my pick of the week.
All right, thanks so much, Alexa.
And last night's supermoon was the closest it's been to Earth in 18 years, but yesterday was not the last time you can see it. Find out how you can see it tonight.
The next 30 seconds can save you a lot of money. Just do your laundry in cold and stick to full loads. Auto-sleep your computers. Plug your gadgets in a power strip and switch it off when you're done. Headed out? Turn back your thermostat by 10 degrees. And drive sensibly. The more energy you save, the more money you save. Find other great tips at energysaver.gov.
Thank you, dear. Well, you're very supple. Just like I was at your age. Back then, I was a sex expert. Used to call me the buttered biscuit. I know about birth control, too. So you can ask me anything, baby.
Bedsider.org has birth control information and a lot more. And it's...
Have you had sex in this car yet?
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Did you miss the supermoon last night? No worries, you can still catch it tonight. Here's a live look at the supermoon right now from the top of Wallace Annenberg Hall. You can see that it's almost as big as the VKC globe. The moon peaked this morning at 5 a.m., but astronomers say tonight won't be that different. And thanks for watching Annenberg TV News. From everyone here at Annenberg Media, I'm Etienne Smith.
And I'm Kaylee Heck. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com. Good night.